In today's video, I am answering your questions. In a video a couple weeks ago, I asked for you guys to ask me some questions that I could use for a Q&A, and here it is. So I apologize for all the squinting that I'm doing, and you know, maybe the lighting's not just right, but I don't care. I needed a really good spot that I could sit and be comfortable and warm and cozy in the sunshine, and I chose to be out in my pasture. I'm sitting on 20 bales of hay. So I've got a big net here, and here's just kind of I'll pan around to my critters. Okay, so here's your questions and my answers. Alyssa Miller, her question was, would I blanket a horse if they needed it? Well, Alyssa, yes, I would. And it's funny because this question is very controversial. It's right up there with talking about politics and religion. I feel like blanketing, bits, and natural hoof care all kind of is just one of those things that people just don't want to talk about because it causes a lot of arguments. If a horse doesn't have an adequate hair coat, if they're sick, if they're old and just not able to produce the body fat that they once were, to stand up to the elements, then absolutely. If a horse is trailered in the winter in an open stock trailer, then absolutely throw a blanket on them and protect them. The thing with blankets is once you start blanketing a horse in a season, you really need to stick with that, because the way a horse's hair coat works is the hair sort of fluffs up and air gets trapped between the hairs and insulates the horse. And once you start blanketing them, that mats down their hair coat, and it makes it so they just don't grow the same type of coat that they would if they were left naked. So I prefer my horses to just be left as is, and they've all done so well. I only have a couple of horses, a couple of paints actually, who have a little bit thinner skin. It seems like they're just sensitive, and I will bring them in if I feel like they're uncomfortable. So simply just going into a stall seems to be a great fix for that, and or bringing them into my arena to run around. But I haven't had any horses that I just really felt couldn't handle the elements. And it's very cold where we live. I had an older guy. He was 26 and he died in 2012, actually in November, and he got very sick. The last 3 months of his life he was very sick, and it was very sudden, and he lost a ton of weight and didn't grow an adequate coat at all for going into that winter, and he had like no body fat. So that horse I absolutely was planning to blanket, but he did end up passing before winter came. So, but anyway, so blankets, absolutely. You know, if you want to blanket your horse, but don't feel like you have to blanket a horse because somebody else says that you should, okay? Horses are meant to handle the elements. They are well equipped with what God gave them. And I got this horse that's really wanting to be involved. So she just keeps, this is Blossom, she keeps creeping over. She's like, please pet me. So that's my take on blankets. Absolutely, I would blanket them if I felt like they needed it, but if I don't feel like they need it, then they're not getting blanketed. So in my entire herd, they're all naked. Okay, Jennifer Brown, will you do a barn tour, and how many horses do you have? Well, Jennifer, I have 14 horses that I own, and I will do a barn tour. I would love to do a barn tour for you, but I'm not going to do it when we have 3 feet of snow. So I'll wait until it's actually like a pretty time of year, and I'll do a barn tour. I did do a little tour on my arena in one of my older videos, and maybe I included the other barns. I don't remember. But anyway, but yeah, stay tuned and I will do that. Ann Pips says, how often do you worm your horses, and do you worm them all on the same day? Well, I follow strategic deworming that has been recommended to me by, you know, I've talked to several vets about that, and they all recommend strategic just to help eliminate the resistance that we're seeing in worms. So, and basically we do a fecal every April, and then the end of April to early May, we start deworming, and it's just based on each horse's specific needs. So the most we deworm in a year is 4 times, and the least that they get dewormed in a year is twice. So, and I have a full video all about how I deworm my horses, and how, actually I dewormed my entire herd. And that's posted If you go under my playlists, find one titled Caring for Horses, and that's where you can find the deworming video. And there's a lot of other videos on there too that you might find interesting about just general care for horses. So I love playlists. I put everything in a playlist, and I feel like it's just a really awesome way to be able to find things that pertain to what you're looking for. So, okay, next, Olivia's Personal. She says, best thing to do when restarting an older horse. I can't say that there's any one thing to do when restarting an older horse, but I can say that restarting an older horse is definitely, I feel a little bit more difficult than starting a young horse from scratch, because they've developed some bad habits and such. So, but groundwork is my key. I always go right to groundwork, and I make sure that I have everything solid on the ground before I ever move on. I don't care how old the horse is, how much they've been ridden. If you saw my Meet Sally video, that's a mule that's here, she has been ridden and driven pretty substantially in the past, but there's no way I'm getting on her until I feel like all of her groundwork is super solid, because right there, that's my insurance right there. I want to make sure that this horse understands all the groundwork. It's a pass-fail. So we pass, we move on, or we don't, we go back and fix things. So that's just kind of how it works for me. So make sure to take your time and be very patient with the older horse. You know, same with young horses too, but don't rush it. Don't skip any steps. Just because they've been ridden doesn't mean you should be riding them. Go back and fix those things. This horse is literally gonna like crawl on my lap. Here I'm sitting on a big pile of hay. She's not even eating the hay. She just wants to be in my lap. She's the sweetest thing ever, but she's creeping up on my space. She's stealing my sunshine here. Michaela Holman is next, and she says, could you do the Q&A video with Danny? Well, it didn't work out today, but I do have a really fun adventure coming up with Danny very soon. So be sure to keep an eye on Danny the Horse Girl's channel and my channel so you can see what we've got fun that's coming up. So it's going to be Danny, her mom, and I, and it's an awesome adventure. Comment below if you think you know what we're going to be doing. So I'm anxious to hear your answers for that. So Michaela also says, how much is a good horse for sale, and how long should you be riding when to start looking for a horse? You know, Michaela, that's a really great question, because I feel like too many people get horses way too soon. A big part of this is making sure that you're ready and you have somebody that you're working with who is very knowledgeable, who can help you along the way. So I see a lot of people that just go out and buy horses because they're cheap, and I get a ton of phone calls of, oh, there's this rescue horse, or there's this horse that needs a home, or, you know, this one's really cheap, or blah, blah, blah. Well, what I want to see is people able to have a successful start with horses. So I'm going to use this as an example, but for those of you who have watched day-by-day vlogs, they, I feel, have had a very good start with horses. They've worked with a trainer since the beginning. They've taken lessons. They've leased horses and then moved on to buying a horse and gone on from there. So if you haven't watched day-by-day vlogs, check that out, because I really feel like this family is doing things right as far as being new horse owners and such. So, but I've got a couple of riders at my barn who board horses. They started off as just taking lessons, then started leasing. Actually, I have more than a couple. Almost all of my boarders have started out that way. They've all been students of mine that were leasing and then moved on from there. But anyway, I feel like that's the right way, and they've all had such great success with their horses. So if you have the ability to work with a trainer, do that first, and then move up from there and get a horse when you feel like your trainer is ready for you to get a horse. And then as far as how much horses cost, gosh, a lot of my horses have been given to me, but I also train horses for a living, and I know what to do to help them with what they need. So I can take a horse that's not trained and I can work with it and get it to the point where kids can be riding it and such, but I have the experience to do that. So, but when I'm looking at finding a horse for a student that's going to be suitable for their needs, and they can go and they can show it, and all around stuff, you're looking at anywhere between $2,500 and $5,000. That's what I tell people, and that's for us. We're in Michigan, and I think that's a pretty good price range. So, and then people will say, oh gosh, that's so expensive. Well, buying the horse is the least expensive thing to do with horses. So that initial cost is the least amount of money you're going to spend. So I say, go out there and get the best horse you can possibly afford. So sure, you might be able to find those $1,000 horses or even less. They do come along. There's Petra. But like Petra, she was $900. She's a great horse. She didn't have a lot of training, and there's some things, you know, she's got a genetic muscle disease that I found out about. But, you know, I mean, horses, you can get them cheaper, but it's pretty rare. And just plan on spending the money. Go and get the horse that you need for the level that you're at, okay? All right, now Nikki Garwood says, do you ride English or Western? Well, Nikki, I'll ride any way that I can. I love English, I love Western, I love dressage, I love barrel racing, I love trail riding, I love jumping, I love endurance, I love everything to do with horses, and I ride every discipline I possibly can. And I'll be honest with you, so it's March 22nd right now, and I have not ridden with a saddle but maybe 3 times since October. So I went with the whole like no stirrups November thing, and I took it to the next level, and I just went bareback, and I've been riding bareback since October. So, and that's really helped my balance, and it's good for my riding ability all the way around. So I absolutely love riding bareback. I think it's good for so many reasons. So that's been my preferred style right now. But now that we're coming into spring and summer, I'll be riding with my saddle a lot. And I guess if I'm gonna pick which saddle I'm gonna ride in, I typically go for, hey, stop, no fighting when I'm in the middle of you guys. I'm gonna go for my Western saddle usually, because I do a lot of stuff with my younger horses where I use my rope, and my rope is attached to my saddle. And yeah, that's typically what I go for, but I love English too, you know, so kudos. Comment below, if you ride English and Western, comment below, let me know. I wanna see how many well-rounded riders we got out there. But I really feel like tack doesn't matter. You know, horsemanship is horsemanship, and I feel like, you know, I can be a barrel racer and a jumper and do all these things and ride dressage and be a very well-rounded horse person. So, okay, moving on. Well, that's it for the questions, but I do want to give a little shout out. And this shout out goes to Chelsea Nur. I hope I'm saying your last name right. And Chelsea is hey, you guys don't fight by me. Chelsea is a small YouTuber, and she is I just have to give her kudos. Kudos to Chelsea, because she's so positive and kind-hearted and always says really nice things. Every comment I've ever seen her leave on someone else's channel is so nice, and she's young. And I just feel like she's a really good role model for others. Well, I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day and you're able to enjoy the sunshine like I'm doing here. Here's another quick little pan of my horses. Don't mind like all the poop. There's really not much we can do about that in March in Michigan. There they are. Okay, I'm gonna sit and enjoy some time here with my ponies. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.